Okay, first question you might be asking is, what the hell is this monstrosity of a setup? Second, you might be like, where's the product review? Where's the usual flip through? I've pretty much gone through all the books and stuff I have, so I figured I'd start out like a new series of new DM ideas. Now, here, this setup, so that explains the questions and everything. This setup is an idea of the prison break. So for new dungeon masters, game masters, and everything, I brought kind of bringing this idea from like an old school box set from AD&D. If you remember, if you're old enough to remember it, it's like it has that red dragon on the front of it. Now I pulled the idea from the starter set for that. It's like the good old Jailbreak. Now I'm using the Hero Quest board and like figurines and like furniture and stuff and everything, but the whole concept to start a campaign, I'm using the Jailbreak idea. Like, okay, here's something you can use as a campaign starter. So in this series of videos, what I'm going to be doing is giving ideas of how a DM can start a campaign. Now, of course, like it's kind of going to be a lot of the stereotypical tropes, like you meet in the tavern and everything. This one is the stereotypical you do a jailbreak and everything, pulling from the box set from AD&D back from like the 80s and everything. So the red heroes I'm going to have like represent like the PCs, and then like the white heroes are like the NPCs that are kind of like all prisoners. Now, this would be a great way to kind of introduce backstories. I have a bard, a rogue, a druid, an elven fighter, an orc bard, and the wizard. So now I'm just kind of using those as stereotypical examples. Your party can be made up of anything. And of course, you got the NPCs. I'm kind of using some of my other miniatures for those. The whole concept is, for whatever reason, like maybe you crossed the local baron or something, you got thrown in the jail here, maybe you got caught stealing or something. Whatever it is that landed you here in jail, that could be all of a sudden how you could hook the players to come together. You break out into this area. So now these miniatures are the abominations in Hero Quest. I'm kind of using them as you can use them as lizard folk. Of course, I got orcs. These are in Hero Quest are known as old school. They're known as the Chaos Warriors, but in the 2021 version, they're known as Dread Warriors. So I got 4 of them. So here in this room, as you break out of your cells, would be where in a sense the equipment holding room. Here we got a torture room and a torture room here. I'm using the tomb kind of maybe you get thrown in there, kind of think of something like solitary confinement. You got your orcish and lizardful guards and everything. You got your, in a sense, dread warriors, or your captains of the guards type of deal, your main fighters. So ideas then you have the weapon storage area. You got 2 instance torture rooms. You got the main captain of the guards private chamber. You got the kind of in a sense the treasure room, and you got a kind of storeroom, and then you got the main barracks or whatever where people kind of hang out and everything. And back here is where you can see the stairs. So the whole idea is to escape here, fight your way into freedom. And as you can see, I'm pretty much only using half the board of the Hero Quest board. So now, in the Hero Quest game, you depending on each quest, you use different rooms and everything, and the setup is slightly different. But taking this kind of concept and the jailbreak and using it as a dungeon crawl type of concept, yeah, here's a great way to kind of introduce the characters to each other. So for instance, the Dragonlance Chronicles, all the characters already knew each other for the most part. 6 out of the 8 characters pretty much knew themselves when they met in the tavern in the Dragons of Autumn Twilight. Then they were able to, in a sense, escape and hit off the whole trilogy and everything. So here it's kind of the same concept of you're breaking out and everything, and you're escaping, but you were thrown, like I said, you were thrown in here for whatever reason. You crossed the local baron, you got caught stealing something. Maybe you had the local count or something levied some fines against you, and you couldn't pay them, so they just threw you in here. so that all your characters could be introduced to each other here. And then the concept is like, hey, look, now we're trying to escape. We're thrown into this like a dungeon, and we realize, oh, hey, maybe the count or the baron and like all these like people that we may have crossed or like or whatever, they're like in some political scheme or something. We get to do that back and forth role playing. We find out like, oh, hey, maybe like we're thrown in here for the wrong reasons, and that's why we're escaping. We fight our way out. We get our equipment in this first room, and then like we see like the torture rooms, and we fight our way out. And like the whole objective of the first scenario is like to get to the stairs and get out and everything. So now we also come across like some NPCs that can help us escape. Like maybe they're prisoners that are already there, other thieves or like local bandits or something. We help them like escape, and like they help us. So in a sense, we got a team up, and we're able to get our equipment, and then kind of like fight our way through. And maybe we search to kind of like see if we can find like a steal from like our captors type of deal with like the treasure room, and then like we can like fight our way through the barracks and stuff, or we could completely bypass it. You could use the idea that maybe like one of them like after a certain amount of rounds or something raises the alarm, so that way everyone else is aware. So you'd have maybe just enough time to arm yourself and then fight the rest of the guards or something. Or you could be like much more stealthy and quickly take these guys out before you take they sound the alarm, and you can kind of like bypass everything and sneak your way out and everything. So now this would be a good hook in a sense, like in a sense like, oh hey, good hook of getting the team together, and then all of a sudden like, oh hey, look, now we have like a, they might not necessarily be like an evil entity like a Vecna or Strahd or something, but like the local count or local baron that I mentioned could be like the villains in the hero's eyes, and they have to go up against them. So and like I said, they might be wrong. You might be wrongly imprisoned. So then you escape and have to try and fight back. And so this whole series, this hook Jailbreak series could lead you out into like a much wider, in a sense, political game, going up against like the count, the baron, like the people that you were like falsely thrown into jail or whatever reason. So you team up with like the other players and everything. So this could be like a good hook, like I said, to get the team together. And you're doing like, in a sense, the classic dungeon crawl. Now I kind of set things up to kind of like save some time beforehand, so I'm not sitting there like, oh, here we can set this up, and but like as you can see with this board, like off screen, like we have this whole empty rooms that you can see, like that you can also use. So you could theoretically use the same board to kind of like, once you escape, you could clear it and then do like maybe like another dungeon crawl where you escape to like the caves or something, or you maybe go into the sewers and use some of the rooms to kind of like you get out and get into the sewers, and then use this again as like maybe like another dungeon crawl as a scenario to kind of like this would be scene one, and then scene two would be the sewers of you getting out, and maybe regroup like outside the city in like a small town or something, and then you can come back and everything. So this is just like one idea that you can, like I said, you use as a new DM, the good old Jailbreak, to get the players together. What comes to mind is like, think of way back like with Skyrim, when like you first start the game, you're pretty much bound in the cart with like a couple of the storm cloaks and everything. So it's that kind of concept where like you're starting with this, and so yeah, like the old Jailbreak, meet in the tavern, and like or maybe you come together and you all meet up in like a local town. They can be kind of cliche, but like they are pretty effective at getting your team together. If like you decide to play characters that don't know each other, of course, like you could have like characters that do know each other, and maybe you have like a couple of the characters that cross the count, like I said, and were thrown in together, or maybe like the whole party led like tried to lead a heist and like failed, and the whole party was thrown in here. They introduce some NPCs, maybe like I said, they're bandits. You help them escape. You kind of team up with them, and they go on their way, you go on your way. So this is just like a new series I'm doing since I've pretty much gone through all the material that I have, like box sets, books, and like pretty much adventure books, and like everything that I have. So this is like a new series where I'm going to be given like kind of like the good old cliche advices of like for new DMs, or and of course veteran DMs could use like whatever trope they want, like and do a spin on it. Like I'm sure they'll be like much better than me at pulling something that out of thin air and coming up with maybe a new concept and everything. So, like I said, I put the setup with like the Hero Quest miniatures and stuff, and the Hero Quest board. Now, I'll like in future ones, I'll start using more like my tiles and everything to kind of come up with new concepts and stuff. To kind of like, oh, hey, here's like a scenario you can run through. I'll also be using other board games to kind of like, oh, hey, here's an idea like you can quite possibly use for maybe a one shot, or like maybe like a scenario part of your campaign and everything. So this is pretty much the inaugural new DM guide that I'm going to be doing. Since like I said, I'm done pretty much flipping through and like talking about all the books and box sets and everything that I have. So now it's time to kind of put some ideas out there for people to be able to use. And we started off with the good old, like I said, Jailbreak. It's time to break out of jail and pretty much, in a sense, escape to your freedom.